And like Connor mentioned earlier, I'm a parasitologist. And I've moved to Scotland 7 years ago now to study tropical parasites. And that's right, I moved here to study tropical parasites, right? They exist in the tropics, where it's warm. Okay? Really, Scotland is not the first place that comes to mind when you think about tropical diseases, is it? However, for the ones in the know, actually, Scotland is the place to be if you want to be a parasitologist. And it has been said that there are more parasitologists per square meter in Scotland than anywhere else in the world. So there you go. Fact for you. So at the University of Dundee, I work with the parasite that causes sleeping sickness disease. And no, unless you've been to certain parts of Africa recently, you do not suffer from it. What you do have is either sleep deprivation or a massive hangover. And all you need is a really good night of sleep. Okay? So, some 5 years ago, I was at the Glasgow Science Centre doing pretty much what I'm trying to do here, which is to explain to a non-scientific audience what it is that I do for a living. Okay? So at the time we were working with kids, and we had this very disgusting collection from the zoology department to show off what tropical parasites. I was actually pretty lucky, and I got the coolest item we had, which was actually a real human brain. Okay? It had evidently been donated, no dodgy things going on in there, but it was completely pickled in formaldehyde, which, by the way, is incredibly toxic, right? And the effects of those fumes will eventually catch up with me. Like, I mean, really, holding up a pickled brain a whole day will definitely have its consequences, right? So the brain was obviously like a huge hit amongst the kids, right? And everyone wanted to poke the brain, so that was brilliant. But it was actually a really good prop for me to explain to kids what sleeping sickness disease was while keeping their attention on the big, yellowish, falling apart brain, right? So, sleeping sickness is caused by a parasite called the trypanosome, okay, that lives in a massive fly called the tsetse fly, right? After a very painful bite by a tsetse fly, the parasite swims in our blood, making us sick. If we don't get treated then, it eventually goes up to the brain, enters the disgusting pickled brain, right? And it causes us to fall asleep and to have erratic sleeping patterns. So like falling asleep during the day and not being able to sleep at night. If we don't get treated then we're in terrible trouble, right? Because we'll fall asleep like the Sleeping Beauty, never wake up. Okay? So, I mean, it is a sleep so deep that not even your better half or true love will be able to bring you back. Okay? So I explained it like this to kids, which showed like all levels of interest. But there was this one wee lad, he was about like 5 years old, that was all goggly eyes on the brain. Okay? And he seemed to be paying like a lot of attention to what I had to say. So I did tell him my story, and he went away. But after a few minutes, he came back running, right, with his dad trotting behind, and he looked at the brain and said, "Can I ask you a question, miss?" And I was like, okay, oh my God, I've inspired a young mind, you know? I could already see him walking through life to become the next David Attenborough, you know? And so he opened his big eyes, looked at the brain, then looked at me and said, "Miss, which part of the brain do the zombies like best?" And I was like, I don't know. But, you know, I'll definitely check it out. Which I did, by the way, and there's no answer on Google. However, I do keep Googling once in a while, because, you know, never know when another kid's gonna ask you that question. But more importantly, you never know when your next grant application is going to be on the culinary preferences of zombies. Because, you know, we've heard of weirder stuff being funded anyway. So now I'm going to tell you what drives me absolutely mental in the lab, okay? I've come to terms that this is going to be my ending. Well, you know, I mean, if the fumes from the pickled brain don't get to me first, though. But in all seriousness, if I ever quit science, it's going to be because of something like this. So I gather that everyone is familiar with the premise of the Toy Story movies, right? I mean, when we're not around, toys have their will and they do whatever they want, right? Have you ever suspected, right, that your appliances at home do exactly the same? You know? So I know that mine definitely do, and I'll give you the example of my bathtub, right? It only decided to fill itself with mud, okay? Mud, you know, up to the top. Not like, you know, on a regular day. No, at 10 p.m. the day before we had a 9 o'clock flight in the morning. So that was brilliant and lovely, right? So I guess everyone has had those experiences. But if you think if your house appliances are spoiled, it's because you've never met lab equipment. Okay? Right. And worst of them all are cooling systems, like fridges and freezers. So just to put you into context, right? Fridges or other cooling storing devices are one of the most crucial equipments we have in biological sciences, right? We keep their samples that are absolutely precious, and I'm not exaggerating when I say that whole careers and lives are stored in these devices, right? So if they fail and the samples within get lost, it can literally obliterate someone's life, okay? The thing is that they know they're important, okay? They know how important they are. So they are incredibly spoiled, and they have a huge, dark sense of humor and of opportunity, right? And because of that, they never break during working time. They break at 8 p.m. The later, the better, okay? They never break between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. on a Monday, right? They wait until 5 minutes past 5 on a Friday to break just to piss you off, okay? But they sense fear, you know? They sense there's only you and a couple of other people around, and then neither of you have a single clue of what to do in that situation, right? So they do it. But they don't do it to everyone. They choose their victims, right? They choose them. They know the ones that are going to listen to their alarm, that cannot turn, you know, a deaf ear to them, and they're going to hear that horrible devilish sound of beep, 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 and, you know, stay another 2 hours, you know, most of the time, late at night, absolutely starving, having your better halves texting you saying, where are you? I'm waiting for you for dinner. And they'll give you unconditional, you know, attention and run all over the place like cockroaches high on sugar trying to solve the problem because they don't want to be blamed the next day for screwing someone else's life. Right? I've come to terms a very long time ago that I'm one of these cockroaches. Okay? I can't avoid when they start beeping. But, you know, come to terms with that. So every time it happens again, I just go there, take a deep breath, pat on their lid, and just say, why are you doing this to me? Please don't do this to me ever again. Which obviously, you know, they do, right? Thank you very much. Good night.